Number 25. Alien hand syndrome. Caused by the separation of lobes in the brain, people suffering from this disorder essentially lose control of their hand as it seemingly takes on a mind of its own. While there is no known cure, giving the hand something to grasp will often be enough to keep it preoccupied. Number 24. Progeria. Wrinkles, baldness, missing teeth, stick around long enough and you're sure to have your fill. While old age happens eventually, to children affected by progeria, all of these symptoms we dread manifest themselves before the age of 2. Unfortunately, although mentally they are still their age, many of these children develop the illnesses typically associated with the elderly, such as cardiovascular disease and arthritis. Rarely do they live to be older than 12 or 13. Number 23. Human Werewolf Syndrome. Sure, you may have some hairy friends, but not like this. Formerly known as hypertrichosis, there are only about 50 people in the world afflicted with this rare disorder. Unfortunately for them, not even laser hair removal is an effective treatment as their hair will rapidly grow back. Number 22. Stone Man Syndrome. Formerly known as Fibrodysplasia Ossificans Progressiva, this extremely rare mutation of the body's repair mechanism often causes injured muscles, tendons, and ligaments to be ossified or turned to bone. In fact, as the name suggests, within decades a person can be rendered completely immobile. Number 21. Alice in Wonderland Syndrome. Probably as a result of something malfunctioning in the brain's occipital lobe, this disorder causes people to perceive objects as being either much larger or smaller than they really are. Moreover, the individual will also misperceive the passage of time and possibly have their sense of hearing and touch affected as well. Number 20. Walking Courpse Syndrome. Officially known as Cotard Syndrome, this mental disorder involves an individual who believes they are already dead or have lost all of their vital organs. Oftentimes it's brought about by brain injury and can result in people believing themselves to be immortal, which can very easily lead to unintentional suicides. Number 19. Foreign Accent Syndrome. Typically the result of a stroke or severe migraine, this extremely rare disorder affects the way an individual forms his or her words, thus giving the perception that they are speaking with a foreign accent. One of the most recent cases was that of Sarah Coldwell in the UK. After suffering from an extreme migraine, she woke up in the hospital hours later speaking with what sounded like a Chinese accent, although she had never once in her life been to China. Number 18. Allergies to water. The technical name being aquagenic urticaria, this disorder causes the individual to be allergic to water in any form, potentially including their own tears. Recently, a British woman named Michaela Dunton explained to a local newspaper how she couldn't even hold her boy because if he started sweating, she would break out with an incredibly painful rash. Number 17. Allergies to food. Although many people are allergic to food on some level, imagine being allergic to food, period. Joshua, a young boy who recently made headlines, suffers from a form of eosinophilic esophagitis so extreme that even the scent of food could kill him. Until more is known about the disease, people in Joshua's shoes have to be fed via direct tube to their stomach. Number 16. Blaschko's lines. Humans actually do have stripes. Well, not really, but certain skin conditions will expose a series of lines on the skin that are otherwise invisible. The most remarkable thing about them, though, is that in every patient they always follow nearly the same pattern. Number 15. Pain and sensitivity. It sounds great, right? Never feeling any pain? The truth is, however, that it's probably one of the most dangerous things that could happen to a human. Often children that are affected by this disorder acquire terribly debilitating injuries as a result of scratching themselves, biting off their tongues, or walking around on broken bones. Number 14. Forgetlessness. Although this may sound like a really cool superhero power, it's not. Not being able to forget anything can be extremely distracting, and there's a reason brains are not typically wired this way. While rare, there are several people in the world who possess this superhuman memory capable of remembering seemingly unimportant details, such as the weather, every day for the past decade. Number 13. Cold immunity. Wim Hof of the Netherlands is giving the medical community yet another reason to be baffled as he climbs Mount Everest with nothing but his shorts on and dives beneath Arctic ice for record periods of time. Evidently the cold has no effect on him, at least not to any normal extent. Number 12. Cold urticaria. On the other end of the spectrum are those of us who are actually allergic to the cold. To someone afflicted with this condition, even a snowflake in the face could cause uncontrollable itching, and a major exposure could lead to shock and eventually death. Number 11. Perpetual hiccups. Although normally you would just grab a drink of water and wait it out, for the past 2 years this hasn't helped Christopher Sands in the slightest. Having tried numerous therapies, doctors around the world are stumped. While hiccups are typically caused by spontaneous contractions of the diaphragm, they still haven't been able to find a cause in Chris's case. Number 10. Pica. Characterized by eating substances with no nutritional value, the reasons behind it may vary. Although sometimes it can be the result of cultural traditions, it's often found in children with developmental disabilities or iron deficiency. Number 9. Vampire Syndrome. While there are people out there who crave blood, this is not the disorder we are addressing here. Porphyria is an incurable and inherited disease that causes not only blisters but also cramps and paralysis whenever the afflicted individual is exposed to sunlight. This shouldn't be confused with polymorphic light eruption, however. The latter is actually a fairly common disorder affecting approximately 15% of North Americans, mainly in the north, and only leads to mild rashes upon initial springtime exposure to sunlight. Number 8. Trichotillomania, a disorder that leads to people compulsively pulling out their hair. The peak of onset is between the ages of 9 and 13, and in extreme cases the hair is actually ingested as well. Number 7. Kleine-Levin Syndrome, a strange and little understood disorder that in extreme cases can lead to people sleeping for weeks on end. Fortunately, most children that are afflicted will see the symptoms gradually disappear by the time they reach their 20s. Number 6. Dystonia, a strange and rare disorder. Individuals suffer abrupt twisting motions whenever their muscles sustain any contraction. The most well-publicized case in recent history involved Desiree Jennings, the 25-year-old girl who was aspiring to be a professional football cheerleader before acquiring the disease from a flu shot. Although she can't walk forward, stand in one spot, or talk normally while doing either of the two, she can walk backwards and even run, during which her convulsions and strained speech temporarily revert to normal. Number 5. Exploding head syndrome. Don't worry, this isn't what you think. Often attributed to stress, people will be startled out of their sleep in the middle of the night as a result of hearing a loud banging sound. As of yet, doctors are unable to isolate any negative effects of this phenomenon other than people developing an extreme aversion to falling asleep. Fortunately, however, the bangs typically subside after several days. Number 4. Perpetual Shut-Eye. In what has been baffling doctors all over the world, Natalie Adler of Australia has a problem with her eyes, more specifically her eyelids. Every now and then they will close tightly and not reopen for up to 3 days. Doctors believe it may be a type of conversion disorder, something that happens when a person internalizes various psychological issues which then manifest themselves physically. Number 3. Fish odor syndrome. Struggling with something called trimethylaminoria literally stinks. As a result of the body's inability to break down a certain organic compound found in numerous foods, an afflicted individual tends to give off an overwhelmingly strong fish-smelling odor. Unfortunately, there is no cure, but thus far people have managed to control it by employing various diets. Number 2. Blue skin disorder. As a result of something called methemoglobinemia, which causes decreased blood oxygen levels, some people develop a very deep bluish tint to their skin. The disorder is hereditary, but once the cause was discovered, those who it afflicted were treated and their skin color is reverted to normal. And number 1. Tree bark skin. Known as epidermodysplasia verruciformis, this hereditary skin disorder caused by HPV, or human papillomavirus, causes wart-like growths on your skin to spread out of control. One of the worst cases on record is that of Dede Kuswara from Indonesia. He recently had 95% of his warts removed, but within the year, almost all of them had grown back.